welcome to the Business Report. I'm Andrew Laidley. Now, in a world full of uncertainties, having an emergency fund is crucial. But what is an emergency fund? Also known as rainy day money, an emergency fund refers to cash that's specifically set aside for unplanned expenses or financial emergencies. It's a financial safety net for unexpected expenses like medical emergencies, job loss, or car payments. Now, imagine what would happen if you or your child needed immediate surgery or if a relative suddenly passed away. Both scenarios qualify as an emergency and can require significant cash up front. Now, imagine you had no cash to fall back on. Would you be left begging? Would you borrow? Would you deny yourself of essential things? Or would you take an emergency loan? Well, all of these outcomes can be avoided if you take the time to set up an emergency fund, which will provide peace of mind and prevent you from going into debt in times of crisis. Now, in case you're wondering how to start, here are some tips from Michelle Sinclair Doyley, Corporate Manager for Group Financial Partnership Support and Financial Education at JMMB.
So I know that some persons, they say, oh, well, I know I have to pay my car insurance. Emergency! No, it's not an emergency. You could have foreseen that you would have had the car insurance payment to make. That's not an emergency. So what would be an emergency? An emergency would be, for example, the engine of the car failing and you having to purchase a brand new engine. That is not something you would have considered necessarily, but it would not be an emergency to say you have to service your car. Something that is good. So an emergency can be good, it can be bad, but you want to make sure that you have the money set aside to be either your coverage when it is raining, or it can be an opportunity grabber when there's a wonderful opportunity in the market for you. Most financial experts would say to have 3 to 6 months of your expenses in an emergency fund. So let's think about it. Everybody listening to me, what are your expenses? How much does it come up to every single month? If it is 100,000, inflate it by 30%. Why are we inflating it? Because most times we miss some one-off expenses. So we may miss the car insurance, we may miss the fact that we need to pay our taxes or something like that, a one-off expense. And so I would say inflate it by 30%. So if you originally said 100,000, now your figure is 130. Now you multiply that figure by 3, and that is the minimum you should have in an emergency fund. And you multiply that figure by 6, and that is the maximum most persons who are earning a steady salary and who are in secure employment or have secure income. That is what you'd have. Now you notice that I would have made a distinction, because if you're not in a steady job or you don't have steady income stream, or your job is just insecure, the source of income is insecure, then you'll have to have more than that. And I know many people are saying, but then it becomes more difficult. I know. But then because it becomes more difficult for you to know if you're going to have money, you have to make sure you have the money, right? And so for some persons, it needs to be more than that. But you can speak to your financial professional and they can work out for you exactly what your emergency fund ought to be.
Now, the University of the West Indies, Mona, is moving full speed ahead with plans to revitalize and monetize its physical assets. Pro Vice Chancellor and Campus Principal Denzel Williams made the announcement recently.
As part of the revenue revolution for the campus, we're looking at areas where we can actually use our physical assets to generate significant revenue for the campus, and also use our core business to generate revenue for the campus. We've been talking about it for a while, and as they say in Jamaica, you ride, whistle, and chew gum at the same time. And so we don't have the luxury, based on where we are now in our financial life cycle, to just keep planning without execution. And so today I'm very pleased that we're here as a manifestation that we are not only planning, but we are actually executing at the same time.
And that's your business report. Up next is your market summary. Do stay tuned for more CVM News at 7 with Carlin and Stephen after the break.